The harvest season is approaching, but not every farmer is looking forward to it. Wild boars lurk silently, waiting for the perfect moment to surge onto the fields, tearing apart the hard-earned sweat of the farmers. The tracks left on the soil stand as undeniable proof of their brutal destruction. Nick's hunting team is geared up, bearing the heavy responsibility of protecting the crops and the livelihoods of the people. Will they succeed in stopping this looming disaster? Stay tuned for the moments ahead to find out. At the crack of dawn, Nick's team was already on site, boarding helicopters to head to the planned location. The choppers roared through the sky, revealing the chaotic scene below. The noise was so loud it sent the wild boars into a panicked stampede. As soon as the pilots spotted the herd, they skillfully maneuvered to close in, positioning the animals perfectly for Nick to take his shots. One by one, gunshots rang out, flawlessly taking down each target. Their seamless coordination turned every escape route for the beasts into a dead end. This flawless opening marked the beginning of today's fierce battle. Moving on to the neighborhood land, Nick's helicopter approached another group of wild boars. These boars were incredibly clever. The moment they heard the distant roar of the helicopter, they scattered, slipping into hidden spots out of sight. But Nick's precise shots left no room for escape, cracking each one relentlessly. In just a short time, the entire group was expertly subdued. One more threat eliminated, and another patch of land secured. The helicopter kept circling, scanning the land for any trace of the prey. Soon enough, another burst of gunfire echoed through the air. As the silhouette of the wild boars appeared, the pilot skillfully maneuvered the chopper closer, giving Nick the perfect shot. Seconds later, the marks of the battle were etched deep into the ground. The land was swiftly reclaimed from the claws of these fierce creatures. Meanwhile, over on the eastern hillside, James' hunting team quickly took formation, encircling the area. Just as James settled into position, he spotted a wild boar sprinting desperately to escape the hunting dog close behind. Without hesitation, rapid-fire shots rang out. In less than a minute, the beast was down, no chance to run another step. What do you think of this aerial ground teamwork? Impressive enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. James pressed on relentlessly in the chase. After a while, he paused, raising his binoculars to scan the thick bushes sprawling across the hillside. There it was, a dark silhouette weaving through the brush. Seizing the moment, he shouldered his rifle, took careful aim, and squeezed the trigger. A swift, precise shot brought down another target. Not stopping there, he pushed deeper into the dense thicket. Rifle in hand, eyes constantly scanning, ready for anything that might come his way. Suddenly, a wild boar dashed right across his line of sight, as if fleeing from some unseen threat. Without hesitation, a quick series of movements sealed off the boar's escape route. The first shot and the only one needed found its mark. Peace was restored to this patch of land, at least for today. Today's battle comes to a close here. Our sharpshooters have successfully extinguished a major threat to the local farmers.
Germany's fields are struggling against the ferocious devastation caused by wild boars. They tear through furrows of soil, destroying crops and leaving millions of dollars in damages. Hunters are ready to step into the battle against these destructive invaders. Each cold, calculated shot and every heart-pounding moment of confrontation feels like a real battlefield, keeping you glued to the screen. Will the hunters have the grit to take down these marauders? Watch until the end to pick out the most thrilling moment. Today's journey began with a tightly coordinated ambush, leaving no chance for any wild boar to escape. In the fields of Brandenburg, Kevin's team arrived early, spreading out to cover all directions. Not long after, at the edge of the vegetable field, a wild boar suddenly charged out, cutting across Nick's position. Without hesitation, Nick pulled the trigger. A burst of gunfire rang out decisively, taking down the prey before it could slip away. A swift and precise move, truly befitting the team's top shooter, striking fear into the wild boars. The sun was high in the sky, and Kevin's team swiftly moved to the neighboring field. The entire team quickly took their pre-assigned ambush positions. Just 10 minutes later, in the eastern direction, Jay spotted a group of wild boars beginning to ravage the area. He immediately locked onto the largest, fattest boar in the group. A decisive gunshot rang out, and the target collapsed on the spot. But before Jay could reload for another shot, the remaining boars managed to slip into nearby bushes, disappearing in an instant. As soon as the group of boars disappeared, Jay immediately reported their direction of movement over the radio. Using tracking signals, the team quickly narrowed down the suspicious area. At that very moment, near Kevin's ambush position, a wild boar burst out of the bushes, frantically trying to escape. With a single, clean, and precise shot, the massive beast was brought down. Another target eliminated, another victory notched. The field was officially restored to peace, at least for today. At the same moment, in the fields of Lower Saxony, another hunting team was stealthily tracking the destructive pests concealed within the towering grass. James held his post at the edge of a thick patch of grass, right next to the cornfield. Suddenly, a wild boar emerged, slinking toward the corn rows, ready to unleash destruction. Seizing the moment as it stepped out from the grass cover, James instantly pulled the trigger. A single, accurate shot rang out, eliminating the threat. Had he hesitated for even a split second, the cornfield might have been ravaged by the beast's claws. A few minutes later, the sudden barking of hunting dogs echoed from the trail, a clear signal that a target had appeared. James and his team immediately rushed forward, quickly pinpointing the source of the sound. They swiftly took their positions, eyes locked on the bushes ahead. Then, as a dark shadow emerged, gunfire rang out decisively. The wild boar collapsed onto the cold ground, unable to take another step. Another disaster was stopped in its tracks before it could wreak havoc on this field. at 4 a.m., while the entire city still lay wrapped in sleep. We were already deep in the western forest. This wasn't a casual stroll. This was a mission. Beneath these leafy canopies lurks an uninvited enemy, relentlessly ravaging the hard work of farmers, turning lush green fields into battlegrounds. Today, we set out to answer their silent cries, their weary sighs. Will peace ever return to this land? Come with us and find out. As dawn broke, the mountainside became our first battleground. And we didn't have to wait long. At 6:15 a.m., right at the forest's edge, our target appeared exactly as predicted. My first shot struck its shoulder. It immediately changed course, trying to flee up the hillside. But the second shot gave it no chance. It collapsed, forever lying on the land it never belonged to. Mission accomplished. What do you think? Was that shot a masterpiece? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know. We pressed deeper along the narrow trail leading into the fields. The target appeared, completely unaware it was stepping into death's crosshairs. The bullet struck the vital spot, ending the threat in an instant. A single shot echoed through the air, guarding the harvest and keeping the fields forever green. They think speed means escape. They're wrong. Watching it charge like a runaway car, I didn't rush. I waited for it to step into the perfect trap. Boom. Game over. The bullet stopped it dead in its tracks. Forever, at the edge of life and death. Only the fastest gets to write the final chapter. I spotted it limping from a distance. I knew this prey would be an easy catch. I gave it a warning shot. It chose to work. The second shot sent it tumbling like a puppet with its strings cut. In a life or death battle, the slowest becomes dinner. After a midday break, we moved down to the plains where tougher, craftier targets lurk, masters of hiding who demand the teamwork of the entire hunting squad. From the watchtower, my teammate David wasn't just observing the beast, he was guarding the peace of this land. When the intruder appeared, there was no hesitation. One decisive shot pinned it down. It fell, and the threat was eliminated. No second bullet needed. One was enough. A clear message. There's no place here for destroyers like the wild boar. When the barking echoed right beside the bushes, they knew the moment had arrived. Just as planned, the strong wild boar was driven out by the pack of hunting dogs from deep within the thicket and willingly walked straight into death's waiting arms. One clean shot ended the flawless teamwork. It looked for a place to hide, but I found a place where it would lie forever. The sun blazed down harsher and hotter than ever. There it was, a heart-pounding chase as the wild boar poured every ounce of strength into fleeing from the relentless pack of hunting dogs. The barking grew louder, signaling the target was racing straight into the trap. The moment it came into sight, I delivered the finishing bullet, ending the chase in an instant. One shot rang out, keeping the field safe and sound.
For the past 2 weeks, villagers in a rural region of Turkey have been constantly complaining about wild boars destroying their crops and even attacking livestock at night. Despite trying various traditional methods, the problem persisted. Faced with this urgent situation, our hunting team teamed up with the locals to take action. And so began the chase for these destructive invaders. This would be our first ambush of the day. We had just gotten into position when the first dark shapes started to emerge from the distance. Startled by the gunshot, the boar bolted, crashing through the underbrush trying to escape. After several more rounds, it finally collapsed onto the forest floor, and I couldn't help but celebrate the moment. Following that first success, our team advanced the mountain slope. We immediately got into position, constantly adjusting our scopes as the herd moved unpredictably through the rough terrain. The first shots were fired from a considerable distance, a real challenge. But thanks to sharp focus and accurate shooting, we managed to bring down several targets in the blink of an eye. We had only moved a short distance when suddenly, another familiar silhouette appeared. The moment it poked out from the brush,
Ify red, quick, clean.
and precise. Not far from there,
Another wild boar darted out.
I stood my ground, gripped the rifle tightly, and opened fire. Unfortunately, my first shot missed.
J20 de l'animal a chance tout sprint away.
Luckily, my hunting partner had been waiting further down the slope. Right beside us, another friend fired and sent a second boar tumbling to the ground. The loud barking of our hunting dogs led us to another boar trying to hide. But this one wouldn't go down easy.
Le VN d'instinct driven.
It slipped through narrow gaps and dense foliage. Our team opened fire, but the boar kept weaving through the undergrowth.
Toute manœuvrine et vribulet. In the end, the herd managed to escape.
Leaving us behind, frustrated and regretful. We pressed on over rugged, rocky trails, making our way toward the mountain peak. Scanning the landscape ahead, we spotted a herd of boars charging downhill. Determined not to let them get away, we quickly spread out and blocked off key escape routes. As soon as the boars broke from the trees, my buddy and I opened fire.
Letting off a storm of bullets.
Despite their frantic dash, two of them fell almost instantly. We were certain more wild boars were still hiding nearby. The team kept searching. Suddenly, under fierce pursuit by our dogs, a huge boar burst from the bushes, startling everyone. But this was no ordinary prey. It was strong, fast, and surprisingly agile. One final burst, then it collapsed in the middle of the forest, bringing an end to a truly intense encounter.
Wild boar meat has long been the key ingredient in Dobik Sanglier, the renowned red wine stew from Provence and Corsica, France. To secure the freshest, most flavorful meat, there's nothing better than hunting it yourself in the wild. That's why we set off into the vast, untamed forest, where dramatic confrontations with wild boars awaited us. The forest morning was cloaked in a thin layer of mist. We moved deeper into the ancient woods, quietly spreading out to maintain visibility and provide support when needed. As soon as the dogs were released, they sprang into action, barking loudly the moment they picked up a scent. We rushed toward the sound of their agitated barks. There it was. Take the shot. A loud crack echoed through the forest. The boar was hit and dropped immediately onto the leaf-strewn ground. But before we could even celebrate, another group of wild boars came charging out. We kept firing, our rifles roaring through the trees. In less than 3 minutes, we had harvested more game than we ever imagined. Just as we caught our breath, a rustling sound came from the bushes ahead. Wait, did you hear that? I whispered, tightening my grip on the rifle. We froze, eyes locked on the dense foliage. Suddenly, another boar burst out. I raised my gun and squeezed the trigger. The bullet zipped through the air and struck it clean. The animal crumpled on the spot. Each step across the dead branches crunched beneath our feet, as if the forest itself was quietly watching us. Suddenly, a sound came from across the trail. I see it, I whispered, signaling to the team. I dropped into position and carefully aimed for a vital shot. Bam! The gunfire shattered the silence. The boar jolted, then collapsed. Once again, calm nerves and sharp skills helped us win in the harsh wilderness. But I knew, tougher trials still lay ahead. It was already past noon. We took a quick break before continuing the hunt. Out here, we could never afford to let our guard down. Thankfully, our pack of hunting dogs was always alert. The dogs picked up a scent and quickly flushed a boar from deep in the forest, pushing it toward our position. The boars had nowhere left to run. They were forced to surrender to the cold, powerful muzzle of the lions. We no longer moved in large groups, but split up, each man in a lookout post. Then, out of the dense canopy, I locked my gaze on it, finger resting on the trigger. But out of nowhere, another herd of wild boars exploded from the bushes like a sudden storm. Shoot! Now, acted on instinct, firing immediately. After a quick burst of gunfire, one of the boars lay dead. As I returned to the rendezvous point, Chris was still engaged in a tense standoff with the boars that had just charged. Hunting wild boars for meat not only provides a natural source of protein, but also helps control their population and prevent damage to crops. That said, we always adhere strictly to conservation principles and local hunting laws. These are the rules we live by on every hunt.